This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Watch, and I'm so thrilled to be speaking with Dave Mullins and Brad Booker about War is Over. How are you both doing today?
Great, thank you. How are you?
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Good, good. I'm doing great. I see we have a guitar there in the background, some other musical stuff. Can you tell me your relationship with John Lennon growing up and to this day?
Well, it's kind of amazing. Y- I think anybody growing up in the 70s and 80s, like you just the songs are just embedded in your psyche. Like almost any song that comes on it from the Beatles library, you just know it, and it's like kind of embedded in who you are as a music listener. Now I am a metalhead, so I grew up playing in metal bands, but the Beatles, just like they had such a for such a short period of time that they were making music, they had such a huge range of of style and just the way they were expressing themselves. It's unlike any other band. I mean, I think everybody feels that way. It's unlike any other band that's ever existed. So, yeah, I mean, for me, it was incredible to even come be even closely, somewhat related to John and Yoko and this project. I mean, yeah, Brad, you can speak to it.
Yeah, I mean, same for me. Like it was the Beatles and Elvis. My parents had one of those great big cabinet record players, and I had these great big headphones I would wear as like a 4 or 5 year old kid, and I would sit in front of it for hours and play Elvis and the Beatles. So I was in from an early age.
How did this movie come to be? How did it take shape?
Well, a friend of mine from Pixar was friends with Sean Lennon, and Sean was looking. I guess Universal was looking to do. It was the 50-year anniversary in 2021 or 2022, and they were wanting
2021.
to 2021, and they were wanting to do a music video for Happy Christmas, War's Over. And Sean had been looking around, talking to different studios and different artists and directors, and our friend recommended that we meet. And so I heard about it and took the meeting with Sean. And oh my gosh, this is about, one of the most famous, you know, one of the songs that it's a perennial song. It's like every year you hear it. It's always playing in our house during the holidays. And you're like, wow, okay, music video. I don't, Brad and I, Electric League, we don't, not that we wouldn't do music videos, but we're more narrative storytellers. And so we're like, yeah, let's find out what this is. So I met with Sean, and I was relieved that right away he didn't want to do like a bunch of imagery to the song, and like, what's the point of that? What's the purpose of that? And so we started talking about, well, what is it about the song that's so important? I think most people think of it as a Christmas holiday song. And he said, well, it is an anti-war song. It is a protest against the Vietnam War. It was released in 1971, the year we were born. And the reason why that they put the candy wrapper of a Christmas song on there is because they knew if they could write a successful song, which they obviously did, that anti-war message would be playing every year at the holidays, and people would hear this message of peace every year at the holidays because they so much believed in that, and so much of what they were trying to do was stopping war and promoting peace. So um, from there, we just started talking about war and peace and what it means and what the world is right now, and um, that's where we started working on the narrative for the story.
Great. I know that you both have extensive backgrounds in animation over, the past number of years. Was there any particular style that shaped what you wanted to do animation-wise here?
I mean, Brad and I talked early on. I mean, once we found the sort of this alternate World War I setting, because that all came from like this idea of like, okay, how do we get two groups of soldiers to connect, not really know that they're connecting, and connect on a human level, even though they're forced to fight and kill each other? How do you do that? And so we were talking about chess as a metaphor for war and soldiers being pawns in war. And then like, okay, well, what if they're playing a game of chess, and how would they play it? Well, what if we use a carrier pigeon? Because that idea that we wanted to represent, have a character that was completely innocent in the story, that was Icarus, our pigeon. And, you know, the pigeon is a dove and very similar to a dove and symbol of peace. And so that idea comes out of it. And then we start looking at, we don't want to do World War One because we want anybody to look at this film and say, this is a statement about war, not a statement about a war. And so we worked really hard to make it feel like a World War One sort of alternate, you know, of the time of World War One, but you don't know which country it is. There's a lot of cultural representation in there. And so the reason why I say all that is because then we start looking at art around World War One. I studied painting in college, and J.C. Leyendecker is one of my favorite painters from like the 1940s. We also looked at Norman Rockwell and the stories that he was able to tell. And so with those two artists in mind, we kind of started to shape this look of this film and what it could be, and bringing in Zach Retz, our production designer, who's like a madman, amazing painter, like none other. He is incredibly talented. Working with him, and then, you know, Brad and I start to shape what, you know, we think the film would be and how we make it its own voice. And, you know, that's kind of how it came about.
Yeah, Brad.
Yeah, no, you know, all these things get heavily researched, and there was a lot of intent from Zach and our character designer Max to pay homage to the illustrators that Dave just discussed, but also, you know, down to the shape language of, we wanted, you know, Winston's side to be very angular. So there's a lot of straights, and, you know, his glasses are square. Of course, like, we were inspired by the round glasses at first because of John, and, you know, Winston is actually John's middle name. So it's a little bit of a tip of the hat to John, that character is, but because of the shape language, we went with kind of the more squared off stuff. Whereas you look at Abel's side, he's more round in his design, and that carries across the tanks and the tents around it, and everything on that side is the shape language, kind of speaks to the rounds. So again, all this stuff very, very well researched, very specifically. There's a lot of intent behind it.
It works really well. Thank you both for taking some time to speak with me today, and good luck at the Oscars.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Appreciate
Great
it.
talking to you.